Welcome up. This is the Asterysk Show. This is episode number 12. We have a very special guest today, Aiden Scott. um,
I met the princess from Thailand again. She had grown up into a queen. Down in the abyss where the night never turns to daylight.
how are you doing today, Aiden?
Dude, I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast here.
Yeah, it's such an honor to have you on. I've been watching you for quite some time and really big fan of your tricks. So,
Dude, thank you so much. Yeah, I remember like the first time that I think we communicated, I was like giving you tips on, I think it was card double full, maybe.
yeah, it was a struggle, but I
Yeah,
finally got it down. So,
yeah, I love to hear it. Did my
yep,
tip
yep.
help you?
I don't really remember because it was such a long time ago.
Okay, fair enough.
So I can't really give specific details on that, but it definitely.
I'll take
remember
for you being
or-
able to.
I remember it did help though. It gave me it was solid advice.
Love it. Yeah.
So you said you had private lessons earlier. Are you a coach at a gym or just some Discord call type stuff?
Yeah, so I don't run any lessons online, but I do private lessons at my local gym, Cats Gymnastics, which is the one you probably see like Levi and Ethan train at. Obviously, I train there, but that's like one of our main gyms in Colorado. And I've been going to Cats since I was like 9 years old, so it's been my home gym for a really long time.
Really,
And
that's cool.
yeah, so I'm not a gymnastics coach at the gym. They just allow me to do private lessons using their space. So I just pay them a little bit of each of my lessons, and I have like 5 clients that I'm working with right now, and I just want to spread as much as I can about tricking to as many people as I can, and eventually I'd like to run like an actual tricking class, but as of now, this is like the avenue that I've been able to go down with it. So yeah, that's my part-time job. I work part-time at Trader Joe's and part-time I do private lessons at Cats.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do private lessons, but like the gyms around me, they say I have to work like a certain amount of hours coaching like ninja gymnastics. So I wasn't really interested in that. So I can't really do private.
Yeah, I would have ran into a similar problem. Like if I wasn't going to my local gym and had the relationship with the owners that I have, then I wouldn't be able to like just do lessons right now and not be a gymnastics coach, right? Like getting your foot in the door in these gyms and like creating that relationship with them is like the hardest part because most places require you to actually be a coach to use the space. So I just got really lucky, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a really good gig that you got there. So
Yeah, I'm stoked about it. It's like, not that I don't want to teach gymnastics at all, but it's like a lot of gymnastics is so fundamentally different than training tricking is, that I think like, I think that I really just want to focus on the tricking aspect of it. And teaching gymnastics skills obviously is still going to give you a benefit as a coach. But primarily I learned tricking, from my backyard. So I only know how to teach it in the way I have learned how to do it,
Yeah, for sure. So let's move on to current events.
Cool.
Congratulations on hitting 30 cork swings, by the way.
Dude,
It looks so effortless. Was that hard or was that pretty chill for you?
it was pretty chill. I surprisingly so in the weeks like prior to me doing that, I had at Neo done 25 corks. So that was my record at the time. And that actually felt like pretty difficult. And so I came back after Neo and I knew I had like a little bit of time to train for loop kicks. And I really just like changed my training to be mostly like stamina training. So I was like doing a ton of swimming, biking, whatever, trying to increase my stamina so that I could do more corks. And then like a week before loop kicks, I did 28 corks. And didn't even film it. I just like went into the gym after like a training session after doing some cardio, and like I walked in and yeah, I did 28. And I wasn't expecting that at all. And then also like going down to sea level for loop kicks, just there's so much more oxygen in the air. Like it's seriously like training in Colorado and then going to sea level like is a huge difference. So surprisingly, when I did the 30, like I could see the whole time and like I was breathing well. I think if I didn't run out of floor space, I could have done more.
I didn't even like think about that, how your elevation can improve your tricking. Like, is that pretty a substantial thing, you would say?
Yeah, I think it's huge. And I think it's, it's one of these things that like I don't think you're necessarily at a huge disadvantage if you aren't at sea level. But being as high up as we are, like we are going to feel a big difference when we go down to sea level. And like most people, when they visit Colorado for a gathering or something, like they feel it a little bit, like you can feel the altitude when you come here, at least initially. So I do think that I think that it's a factor. I don't think that it's the end all be all. Ultimately, I think I'll show everyone, like, regardless of being at sea level or not, like, I will beat the cork record in Colorado. So I don't think it's that you need to be, at sea level to do these like crazy tricking feats, but I do think that it does help us since we're training at such a high level, like already at elevation.
Mm-hmm. So recently you tweaked your foot/ankle. Like, what happened? What did you do to tweak it?
Yeah, bro. I mean, I could show you right now. I'm sitting here with it up here, just chilling on my bed so I can get some elevation. Well, basically what happened was it was in the last 30 minutes of loop kicks. So I had made it through the entire event, and I obviously was like talking to hundreds of people, like battled the whole weekend, did the 30 corks, tricked like Friday and Saturday probably all together, like, I don't know, 12 hours maybe. Like, I was just training the whole weekend, so I was already tired. And then Sunday I came in and, everybody was still tricking, and my body was pretty dead. So I was just doing like a couple flips on the trampoline and then on the air trick that they have. And I did like this basic tumbling pass, and then ended up like basically doing like round off, or like I did a front flip, front half, whip, dub, and then like a couple of other flips because I messed up the combo I was trying. But I basically ended up doing a back flip, punch, front flip. But on the punch front flip, my ankle was already rolled. So I basically, yeah, like I took off the side of my ankle, And I can send you the clip later if you want to add it into this while I'm talking.
Yeah, sure. I'm curious how bad that was.
Yeah, honestly, it's funny because it doesn't even look cool. Like, it doesn't look like it would have injured me or anything. Pretty much you just see my foot like disappear into the air trick and then just like come right back out. So it is what it is. It's one of those things that this was one of the only times that I haven't warmed up and done tricks in like probably my last 6 months of training. So if it tells you anything, and like, to anyone watching this and wanting to get better at tricking, to limit the possibility of getting injuries, like you should warm up every single time you do anything. Because if my ankle was totally warm and I had like made sure that my body felt better before I decided to just go into this tumbling pass, like that probably wouldn't have happened. But yeah, instead my body wasn't prepared for it and I was exhausted, and It happens.
Yeah. Those air tracks can put your joints in weird ranges of motion, like just mess it up pretty badly.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's like it's this thing where like if I jumped off the side of my ankle on the floor, like it might have not even been that bad because you only have so much of like an end range that you can use when you're on the floor. But the air track obviously just amplifies that.
Yeah,
So
but
it works well when you're trying to bounce high, but not when your ankle's folded under you.
yep.
Yeah,
That,
not
that's
good.
just that's so unfortunate to see you get injured because I knew that you were training really hard for loop kicks and you're doing these triple core combos. But hope you have a speedy recovery. I know you'll get back stronger than you were before.
Dude, thank you. Seriously appreciate it. Yeah, I trained harder than I probably ever have for this summer in general for gatherings, and I definitely feel like I'm reaching that athletic potential that I know that I have. So it'll be a minor setback. I'm still in the gym, still getting strong. Chances are my ankle's already healing very well, and I'm already actually walking in the boot. So I'm not using crutches anymore. And if I didn't tear anything in my ankle, my goal is to still battle at hooked in whatever that is 4 or 5 months from now. So
You're going to Hooked?
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
I'm gonna head there too. Be
Are
so
you
hype. Yeah,
really?
yeah.
Dang, that's amazing. That's crazy. Where are you from?
Minnesota.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's hilarious. The first time I'll meet you will be at Hooked.
I've seen you at Neo before.
Oh,
So
we did meet, huh?
yeah,
Okay, I do remember that. That was at Neo 8.
yeah.
Yes. Okay. I definitely remember that now. Well, but it'll be funny that I'm seeing you again halfway across the world. It's super cool that tricking like gives us these opportunities to travel like that.
Yeah. And
But
like one thing I really like about traveling with tricking is that you get to explore these new gyms and see how things are set up and how the floors are and stuff. It's always interesting, you know.
yeah, definitely. I mean, it just shows like how different the reality of training can be for athletes all over the world, right? Like some
Yeah,
people have these state of the art gyms, like at Neo, which is just like an incredible, space that they're able to use. But then other people have like a cheer floor and a dead floor and maybe some mats that they can train with. But it's cool because like trickers from all over the place, no matter what they have access to, like find a way to learn. So we got people doing triple corks like, in the Middle East where they have like nothing. They don't even have gyms. And then obviously we have kids like Shosei and Zen from Japan and in this state of the art gym and they're doing quad corks and all this crazy stuff. But it really shows you like you don't need much to get good at tricks, and it's cool to see like all the different perspectives from people who train, like I said, with like nothing to having like the best facilities. People are killing it all over the place.
yeah. There's a dude on the Gold Coast of Africa. His name is Yaya Silla.
Yeah, I know the guy.
Just goes on does dubs on wood chips, double backflips on wood chips and like mud and stuff. It's insane.
I know. I mean, how incredible for him to like be able to use his environment like that. Like
Yeah.
like they don't have like bouncy floors. So what's the next best thing? Like take off something soft. So he's literally going to wood chips. Like it's literally insane what he's able to do. Like considering that he has no like formal training or a gym. It's inspiring. It kind of shows that like we are really lucky to have access to gyms and that kind of a thing. And if you get any formal training at all, you'll be so much better than the next tricker for sure.
So let's talk about loop kicks. How is that loop kicks floor? Is it like cheer floor?
Um, yeah, if I were to compare it to spring floor or cheer floor, it's closer to a cheer floor.
Yeah.
Uh, I believe that it actually is just a spring floor, but the mat that's on top of it is like kind of rough, to be honest. It's not my favorite floor I've ever been on by any means. But it's yeah, I don't know. It's pretty bouncy. I like definitely I have a hard time figuring out those floors that are a little bit more rough like that. I'm a bigger guy. I'm like 180 pounds. So for me, like doing any punches or any tricks that like really require me to use the floor, I definitely was like bottoming out on it a ton. So it's kind of like, or for anyone who doesn't know what bottoming out is, it's just like if you hit the spring floor, and then instead of getting the spring to give you bounce, you're actually hitting the concrete below. So I was definitely like bottoming out a ton on it. I kind of had a hard time during warm ups, like getting used to the floor. But then once I was on it for like, a 30-minute session, like it felt fine.
I see. How is the gathering, and how does it compare to other gatherings you've been to?
Dude, Lip Kicks was, I think, my favorite event I've ever been to.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And like the main reason I say that is it has such a great blend of like the sport's competitive potential as well as the culture and the art form that tricking also brings. I was just reading this post that Taka just made on Instagram about it, and I think he said that like totally right, that it's like Loop Kicks has such a good blend of all these elements that tricking is, and I think that it's important for an event to have both that competitive nature, to allow people to continue to push the sport. But I also love that, we had like the beach day in the middle where we got everyone out and everyone was just having a great time on the water. And there was plenty of like open session time where people were able to just use the floor and get together and chat and do tricks and share this thing that we all love called tricking, So I think that it just has such a great blend of all the elements that I love about tricking. And it's also amazing that Loop Kicks has their own space. Any tricking organization that is able to host an event in their own gym, I think it's just going to give it such a better vibe, instead of hosting a gathering in some gymnastics gym that's just local to the area.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's cool.
I was planning to go to Loop Kicks, but I was kind of short on money, so I just came back from Germany, in June, and I was in a dilemma whether going to Neo 10 or Loop Kicks, and I ended up going with Neo 10 instead. But in hindsight, I kind of wish I would have went to Loop Kicks because I don't know how you felt about that last Neo, but it wasn't as hype as the other years, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Neo was. It still had that nature that the Neos have, and I really enjoyed the event because I've been going to Neo since I was 15. So like to go to an event that young, at Neo 2 was the first one that I ever went to.
Oh, dang. Yeah, that's really far back.
Yeah, like went like as a child, so like growing up going to this event, like really kind of, I don't know, getting to like the 10th event and like coming as a guest, and like I gave a seminar at the event. It really like put it into perspective, like how far I've come in my tricking journey and like how far tricking's come in general, because seeing Neo end was like a big like shock, I think, to a lot of the community. Yeah, so I would agree with you. I think that it was a little bit less hype. I think that Matt and Sam, as like event organizers, were just like pretty much done. They've been doing it for 10 years, they've given so much to all the people at their events, housing people, giving people help with travel. Obviously, they're giving so many opportunities to trickers to come out and meet each other. And like running an event is no joke. So I definitely felt like it felt like they were done with it. They were ready to just like relax for their last event, and kind of like let it just play out however it did. And yeah, so I don't know. I had fun at Neo. I think it was lovely, but definitely wasn't as hype as past years. I think There was just less people too. Like what? Like Neo 8. Did you go to Neo 9?
I did. I was at Neo 9.
Okay. What did you feel about Neo 9 compared to
I,
Neo 10?
that that's like the best Neo, like out of the three.
Yeah,
Like
Neo 9.
the three I've been to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember so these cops came in and they just like out of nowhere, and everybody just started to throw down. Some guy was DJing in the back, and then Jacoby's doing full ins to triple corks, and everybody's throwing down the middle floor. It was just really hype event.
Yeah.
Had a lot of good memories at Neo 9.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Yeah, I remember seeing the sampler clips with the cops in the background. So funny. But yeah, I mean, it seemed that Neo 9 was also very hype. Neo 8, I didn't make it to Neo 9, but Neo 8 was like so much like the first huge event in the United States since COVID happened. So it was obviously massive, like 300 people at the event. And yeah, I think like Neo 10 was like, I don't know, it seemed like maybe like half that, like 150. But I loved it. I love both for different reasons. Neo 10 was like a very like family vibe.
Yeah, definitely. I got to meet with like old friends and whatnot, and
Yeah,
there's really good vibe around all around. So
yeah, exactly. And so I think it's like still a great gathering for a different reason. I loved it. Still one of my favorite events I've ever been to, but yeah, definitely much smaller. Neo has definitely come to a close, sadly.
unfortunately, yeah.
I know, but there will be more. There'll be more Midwest gatherings, and we still got the barn gathering in Detroit. So yeah, I think they'll probably be back eventually. I know, like a huge thing with their plan is they want to move into a bigger space so they can host their own gathering at their own gym.
Nice.
Yeah, so keep your hopes up. We'll go to Neo again.
What? Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to ask about loop kicks is where was Shosei?
Oh, interesting thing. You know, I only heard basically like little snippets of this from other people. Um, apparently, like whoever picked Zen up from the airport, like asked Zen, like, where's Shosei? Like he didn't come, and due to the like language barrier a little bit, Zen was just kind of like laughing about it and like didn't really know how to answer. And then apparently he was like he doesn't actually know why Shosei didn't go. Apparently Shosei hit up Mark, the person who runs the event and runs loop kicks, and basically told him that he was blooming out in Japan, was like the translation from Japanese. And so I think that Shosei is just like was finishing his sampler that he's working on, and was just like very heavily training at the time and didn't want to make this big trip out to do this competition while he was like filming and doing his thing. That's kind of what I got out of it. I don't really know. I was really excited to meet him, so it was sad like that he wasn't there. But I'm sure we'll see him at Hooked, and he'll probably win the whole event.
Again, I
Yeah,
think four-peat. Yeah, that'll be a four-peat.
I think it was. Yeah, I think he won. Yeah, when was the last Hooked? It was last year, and then before that was 2019. Did he win 2018 as well?
Yeah, I think that's the Shosei Johan.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Battle. Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, he'll probably do it. I mean, he's worlds ahead of everyone, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, so we're gonna change the topics a bit, and we're gonna talk about how did you find out about tricking and how long you've been tricking for.
Yeah, totally. So I found out about tricking actually through breakdance, kind of indirectly. So I started tricking in 2013. I started learning about breakdance in 2012, 2011, around there. I had only been doing it for about a year, but I went and basically I seeked out a breakdancing studio in Boulder, Colorado, which was right next to my hometown, Longmont, Colorado. And I had been watching YouTube videos of breakdance and flips and parkour as well online. But breakdance was the thing that attracted me the most. So I started breakdancing at the studio, and a couple of the kids were going to Apex Movement at the time, which I don't know if you're familiar with Apex
Yeah,
Movement.
I am.
They have a parkour gym in Denver, but they used to have a location in Boulder where I was taking the breakdance classes. And so I decided to check it out. I took like a level 1 parkour class and really loved it. I fell in love with parkour for, probably like 6 months. And just like that's the only thing I could think about. I was running around my like local town, like filming stuff of myself on my like little crappy like camera that I had. And yeah, I was obsessed watching as many videos as I could, and like really fell in love with it. And then from there, I like realized that I really liked the flips more than I liked climbing up walls and like the other aspects of parkour. And I had seen some people at the gym doing tricking, but I didn't know at the time that it was called tricking. And so I'd kind of just like kept going to the level 1 parkour class. One day I saw someone doing like a B kick, and I asked them like, "What are you doing?" And someone told me about tricking at the gym. And from there, I basically just looked up tricking and found out about this whole nother world that was so closely related to parkour and free running. But it's funny that it was still so underground at the time. So like I didn't even find tricking videos until I actually directly like looked up tricking. And then yeah, I pretty much from there, like this was in 2013, like I said. And as soon as I found out about tricking, I was watching Michael Guthrie, Scott Skelton, Phil Gibbs, all these legendary trickers that at the time, like, I didn't know that a lot of these people I'd meet or be friends with. So like, it's insane to look back on that. But yeah, so in 2013, I ended up finding out what tricking was, and I literally woke up every single day and watched my favorite tricking samplers and went outside in my backyard and just tried to learn as much as I possibly could. And from there, I ended up basically meeting the organizers of Elevation Tricking at the time, which was in Denver, Colorado. Or they were technically in Littleton, but kind of same area, about an hour away from me. But they found me doing tricks because I was posting my tricking on my Facebook. And so basically, like, I posted for about, I think, like, maybe 2-3 months of myself trying tricks in my backyard. And they basically found me and started a tricking class at Apex Movement Boulder because they found me doing tricks. And they wanted to come meet me. So like I just got totally lucky. I had like all these legends in the Colorado tricking community. Charlie Grenhart, Nick Vale, Edward Bossert, this guy Richard, Donnie Martin. All of these really influential people in the Colorado community were coming down to Apex Movement to teach this like tricking class just because they found out that I was tricking near that gym. So I just got super lucky. I ended up taking that tricking class every week. And then my good friend Josh Pierce that I met through Apex Movement, that class that they started, he started taking me down to Denver. So like once a week I'd go to their sessions as well. And then from there I just kept with it. I've just been training now for 10 years. And I haven't wanted to stop since I started. I knew that it was the thing that I wanted to continue to get better at. It really felt like with breakdance and parkour, like I loved it so much, but there was just something that I was missing. And like tricking has all those elements of kicks, flips, and twists, all of the things that I wanted to learn. So it really just felt like I fell into exactly what I was looking for. And I won't stop training it until my legs give out.
Yeah, I used to So I started doing parkour, and then I got into tricking. Actually, no, to be correct, I did free running.
Yeah.
So I used to cross train tricking to get better at free running, but now I train tricking to get better at tricking because it's just so much more fun.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I think that's like such a common way that people like, end up tricking is they find out about it through like parkour and free running or breakdance or like or whatever sport they're doing or gymnastics or whatever. And then they realize like, oh, like tricking is this whole nother thing. And like end up wanting to do that more than the skill that they're even trying to do,
yeah, yeah. Uh, I'm curious. I don't know much about Colorado tricking history, but how
Mhm.
much has it changed from when you first started to now? Because like right now, it's considered like the powerhouse of the states, like the really big community. But has it always been like that?
Yeah, actually, since it's funny, there used to be this Facebook tricking group, right? So I don't, I think most people have seen like the tricking group, but there was this other group on Facebook called Colorado, and it said the tricking capital of the world. Um, and like that had been around like since I started, so I don't even know who made that or if it was someone in Colorado or like or what, but we were definitely sharing our videos and stuff on this Facebook group. And yeah, basically since I can remember, like it's been the largest community in the country. As far as like active trickers, I think that some other states actually have us beat. Like I'm pretty sure California has Colorado beat as far as like active trickers. Obviously, California is a much bigger state, so they kind of have these like smaller communities all the way up that whole coast. Um, but yeah, ever since I can remember, even in 2013, we had this event called the Rocky Mountain Gathering, which was the first Colorado gathering that ever happened. And I think in 2013, when I went, there was like 100 people at the event,
Oh
like
wow, okay.
like 50 to 100. So like yeah, as long as I can remember, it's been like the largest tricking community in the U.S.
I see. Um, so I was kind of thinking, hypothetically speaking, what if I moved to Colorado just for tricking for a little bit?
Yeah,
And I was like weighing out the pros and cons of it, with like the pros obviously being with the best trickers in America and surrounded by a good community. But I was kind of thinking like with the sessions themselves, for the cons, like does it get like crowded in there sometimes? Because when I watch Instagram videos, there's like at least 10 to 15 people, and like I just want to drill tricks without having to wait for people's passes, if that makes any sense. Like, is
yeah.
that a problem?
I will say there are some people in the community that I think have kind of struggled with that part of it a little bit. I don't think that there's too many people at sessions often. There has been points where the main sessions have been Saturday nights in Littleton at Active, and that's the gym that's about an hour away from me. And then in Boulder, the main nights are Tuesday and Thursday at Cats. So Tuesday night sessions at Cats used to be the biggest session in Colorado. Like easily every week we'd have, sometimes up to like we had like 40, 50 people.
It's
Yeah,
that's
at just like a
crazy.
little session, So that's basically a tricking gathering every week, you know. But now the community it kind of comes in waves, and right now like there are definitely less people I think actively tricking. At least just like coming down to the Boulder area. The Littleton sessions are still pretty big on like Fridays and Saturdays, but at Cats like now I think the biggest session I've seen recently is maybe like 20 people. So it's still a pretty significant amount of trickers, but like I don't think it's an issue of if you're going to get floor time. Like I think as long as you're intentional about like coming in the gym um, and not fighting for your space, but just going and tricking, just doing it. Because sometimes people like see either like Levi or Ethan or Kerwood or even me, and we're like kind of dominating the floor, because we're just in there to train hard. So I think people sometimes see that and they're like, they don't want to like get in our way, but none of us feel that way by any means, you know? Like we just want people to get in the gym and trick with us. Because ultimately we wouldn't be doing it still if it weren't for the community and the people that push us. So, you know, I think that there's this thing where it's like the lower level skilled trickers versus the higher level skilled trickers. Like maybe the lower level skilled trickers feel that sometimes that they're not getting as much floor time or whatever. But we just want that. We want everyone to be able to get as much floor time as possible. You know, so I'm always trying to constantly remind people. I'm like, it doesn't matter if you're doing a 540 kick or the world's first new triple cork combo. Like I want to see everybody on the floor like trying whatever they're trying, and as long as you're giving it your all, then you know that's the spirit of tricking.
Oh yeah, it's all about
So,
the. It's all bringing the energy in, you know.
exactly. So if you do want to move to Colorado, you should. It's great.
Okay, yeah, I definitely consider it because it's a really beautiful state as well. So,
Dude, yeah, I think that's the thing is if you're gonna move anywhere, like, you know, I think that tricking is a great reason to move somewhere if that's really what you want to do. But Colorado is great even if you weren't tricking. You know?
yeah.
There's so much to do here. So it's a really great place. Like if you do want to focus on tricking and you want a change of pace. I don't know much about Minnesota, but you know, I would say Colorado's better.
It's humid in the summers, extremely humid, and really fucking cold in the winter.
Yeah, that humidity hits different, man. We have really dry seasons, so we rarely have humidity. We probably have more humidity this summer than we've had ever in my whole time living here. But yeah, the dry heat and the dry cold is just a different beast. But in general, we like pretty much always have the sun in Colorado. Winters aren't that brutal. Like, you know, if you're tired of the weather, that's a good reason to move here for sure.
All right, so let's talk about tricks.
Cool.
If you had to describe your tricking style or the style you wanted to look like, what would that be?
You know, that's a really good question. I honestly, you know, the I guess the style that I strive to be able to achieve is just that like as highly executed and fluid as possible. And so obviously I don't have the highest level of execution on a lot of my tricks, but I really just want them to look and feel easy, right?
They do look easy. Like it's it looks good. You know what I mean? So
Thanks, dude. I really appreciate that. It's like, you know, apart from like, obviously there's stylistic things you can focus on, like pointing your toe and your kicks and getting like full extension and on your swings, making sure that your swing leg comes all the way up and in your variations, like making sure that all your body parts are in the right position so that it looks a certain way. Like, I definitely think that there are stylistic changes that I kind of try to make along the way. But in general, if a trick looks and feels easy, and I'm having fun doing it, then that's the style that I want to shine through my tricks. So, really, just trying to make it all feel as easy as possible.
I'd just say, talking about like style, you have like the most unique snapu tech. Like your leg is like this. It looks so cool.
Thanks.
Is that something like you're mindful about, or is it's just how you normally do it?
Well, when I first started doing it, I realized that my snapu really sucked. Like it was just like I was very much upside down. Like the swipe didn't like come over the way I wanted it to, and that was like the first like double full variation that I ever did. And I'd been able to do it for years, and it still looked like crap. So I was like, okay, I really want to like go back and try and make this better. And so I started watching people who have like the best full snapus in the game. And for me right now, I mean that's changed over the years, but the main person that I was watching at the time was Bailey Payne. because he just has a massive snapu. And now there's like so many people that have great snapus. My favorite to watch are probably Tiki and Mattis or Matus, however you say his name. But yeah, their snapus are really great. But I was watching Bailey Payne do it and just like kind of modeled my technique off of his. So the main thing I tell everybody about double full variations is it's not actually a double full, it's a vert kick. You're doing basically like everybody who has a good looking double full variation, whatever it is, snapu, Cairo, full delayed twist, crowd awakener twist, any of those, your hips never actually pass over your head. So you should basically be doing it like when I do a cart full snapu, I'm actually thinking of it as a cartwheel, backside 9 hyper, right? And then I twist.
Okay.
So it's just really like, that's what I like to tell people. It's like try and make it more of like a vert kick, because if you want the kick to show, it has to actually be a kick, right? So it's it's like a little bit less than a flip for me and a little bit more of a kick is the way I like to think about it.
What are some aspects of tricking that you want to explore but you haven't yet?
Kicks all day. I've really struggled through my tricking to focus on like more of that traditional martial arts side of it. And the reason being is honestly like my hip mobility is just not good. Like all my years through tricking, I've like struggled with adductor strains and some kind of like lower back stuff sometimes from like doing kicks, and I have a really hard time like turning my hip over to do like a round kick because I just don't have that mobility. So that's something that I really want to focus on when I get back to tricking is, continuing my mission to get better at kicks in general. But more importantly, like doing them pain-free. So really working on that mobility. I just injured my ankle, obviously, but this last weekend was the first time that I'd really been able to like do kicks pain-free in a really long time. So I think I'm making progress towards that, but I think everybody has a different like stylistic approach to kicking too, just depending on how your hips work. And I tried so hard for so long to do like the traditional hip turnover and really like do my kicks as a martial artist, and it just didn't work for me. So I really, when I get back to tricking, just want to take a different approach and really focus on learning kicks.
Nice. Yeah, kicks are hard, man.
Yeah,
they take everything out of you. Like it's technical, it requires like strength, everything.
Yeah, totally. Like I can do, 30 swings off of one leg, but it's the same movement every single time. Versus doing this really complex kick combination has so many different like angles that you have to take off and specific spots you want to look so that your kick can come out a certain way. And if you don't fully extend your leg on your kicks or your toes aren't pointed or like certain things don't come out, it's not going to look as good. Versus like if I completely butcher my cork technique and it looks weird, as long as I do the cork, that's really all that matters.
Yeah, that's really true.
Yeah.
A badly executed kick does not look good.
No, not at all. But like a bad cork still looks cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, I think I've kind of taken the easier approach in tricking by like really focusing on power. But I have a lot of fun doing it, and once I get back to tricking, I want to focus more on kicks and the fundamentals in general.
So let's talk about corks and cork swings, something that you're really good at. And I like to say that like swings are hard, man. There's like a large learning curve with them, and it's so comical to see you like save your combo by doing like 5 cork swings to dub. It's just hilarious.
Thanks.
So let's talk about your cork journey. And when did you land your first cork, and when did you start figuring out how to do really good cork swings?
Yeah, so I landed my first ever cork in 2013. So this is just kind of like a little side piece to answering your question, but when I first started learning tricking, like a lot of these things came like pretty naturally to me, and I don't know why exactly. I hadn't spent a whole lot of time like doing flips before. Like I could do like a backflip on a trampoline and some like other like basic stuff by the time that I like started tricking, because I had done parkour as well. So I could do a backflip on the ground, or I landed like one backflip on the ground at the time. I could do like back handsprings, front handsprings, front flips, side flips, whatever. But I think it was about three. I think it was 3 months into tricking that I landed my first cork into actual tricking. But like I said, I already had this background of being able to do all these flips. So I landed my first cork was a scoot cork on the ground. And it was funny. I learned how to do scoot back full, and then like right away I was like, I can just do it off one leg, and that's a cork. And somehow it made sense to me at the time. And so I basically did a scoot cork like 3 months into tricking. And then from there, it took me actually kind of a long time to do cork, swing cork. It took me until 2015. So it was like 2.5 years. And then I did my first cork, swing cork on an air trick, which is funny now that I just like totally blasted my ankle on an air trick. But I did do my first cork, swing cork on an air trick, and then shortly after that, I brought it to the spring floor. And then pretty quickly, I also brought it to the grass. So that was my first cork, swing cork. I remember like you said, the learning curve of swing throughs is huge. Like it took me like, from doing that cork in 2015 until 2018, I believe, to do my first 10 corks. So it was like 3 years of me like, and it wasn't like I wasn't drilling it all the time, like I was doing cork swings like a lot. So, it spent like the better part of like 3 years of me doing like swings at most every session, at least like trying a cork here and there. I had one little period where I hurt my ankle, my right ankle, my plant leg. So I couldn't do swings for a while. And then the opposite happened where I had like a long string of injuries to my left leg. So then I literally got forced basically, because my left ankle was like always shot, to only do corks, because I still wanted to train. So in 2018, that's kind of what happened is like I injured my left ankle, and I just like started going super hard on the swings. And and then I did my first 10 swings, and 5 years later I did 30. So it's like, it's like all of these jumps between, like obviously like doing 10 corks to 30 corks is like a huge jump, but it also took me 5 years to do that, So I think it's kind of just like the learning curve is huge when it comes to swing throughs, but if you put in the time and the effort, then you can easily, 2 times your record or 3 times or whatever you want to do. So yeah, basically did my first cork in 2013 or in 2015, and then did my first 10 in 2018, and then from there just kept training it, kept doing more.
Yeah, it's insane to see how like effortless you make it look. You have a lot of time to study and do corks. I would already assume, because you've done 30, but would you say your cork tech is different from the way other people do it that are really good at cork swings, or would you say it's more similar?
Yeah.
Because it looks, for me it looks a little different from how other people do it.
Yeah, than how a lot of other people do it. Yeah, I mean, thank you, by the way. Like, I mean, like I said, I've just been training it for so long, so now like they feel the best that they've ever felt. And like I really do think that I can push the world record like pretty far. Like at some point I'd like to do 40, 50 corks, which would be ridiculous, but I think it's possible. I think that my cork technique is definitely a little bit different from like people's traditional approach. There's a couple of reasons for that. I think one, I don't actually spot the ground behind me when I do my corks. So what I really try to think about when I'm doing cork swings is the only spot that I'm actually trying to find is right in front of me, the wall in front of me. So as long as I see the wall in front of me and my swing leg is going, then I know I can throw my head back, right? And so like the traditional approach to swing throughs, I think people tell you like, okay, you want to be able to like swing and then see the ground behind you, right, before you do your twist. But the problem with looking for a spot behind you at the floor is that it's actually like slowing your cork down. Because after you've already finished with your swing, where you have the most amount of momentum generated so far to like slingshot you into this cork, people tend to stop, look at the floor, and then grab onto that energy, right? So it's like a lot of actually like kind of doing the corks blindly. Like I almost don't see much at all when I'm doing my cork, except for, like I said, that spot in front of me. So I'm really just trying to keep my plant leg as straight as possible and swing my leg as hard as I can and basically throw my head back as hard as I can. Those are the three things that really make my cork technique happen.
It was so ridiculous. See, corks. I don't know what this is called, but
Yeah.
it's just so insane how like controlled your corks are, and you can just mess around with them.
Yeah, because you took the cork seminar, huh? With Tommy and
I didn't. I wasn't there.
Oh,
It was at my hotel still.
oh, okay. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's funny that you brought that up. I did do the corks in my seminar, like with my hands like this, because I got asked a question. I got asked, like, someone was like, so, like, what's the most important part of, like, the swing? Or, like, what, should I be, like, swinging my leg more? It was, like, something along those lines. And I just wanted to show everyone that it's, like, you don't actually really need your arms to do swing throughs. Like, your swing leg and when you drive your head and your chest back are the most important parts about it. So I just got up in the middle of my seminar. I did 10 cork swings without my arms.
That's so hilarious. I've actually had privates with Tiki, and he would tell me to like, okay, I don't really have much room to do this, but like, he would shoot his arms like this. He would tell me like, stretch your arms behind you as hard as you possibly can. And then when I look at your tech, it's a lot more like condensed when you do like cork swing rows. I don't know where I was going with that, but I guess he told me that I guess everybody has different tech, I guess,
No, totally.
What works for them.
Yeah, and here's the thing too, is that I think that there is tech that is more efficient, right?
Yeah.
And like, here's the thing is that Tiki telling you that, like to bring your arms behind you really hard, that probably works really well for him. But, I'm not seeing Tiki like try and push like his number of swings really, Like the reason why that works so well for him is because he's doing like a couple of corks to generate momentum to like this huge triple cork, right? And so like, yes, I'm saying that it might be it's going to be less efficient if you're using your arms for that big eagle if you're trying to do multiple swings. But if someone was asking me about like generating momentum to do this bigger trick out of your swing through, I'd tell them the opposite. I'd say you do need to like use your arms. Because if I did like a bunch of swings the way I do my swing throughs and then tried to do a triple cork out of it, I'm going to have way too much flip. My arms aren't going to be there to slow me down to catch that swing so I can ride it up, right? When you're doing multiple swing throughs, like you're really trying to just like hold on to the momentum and flip as fast as you can versus like if you're trying to do a cork swing, triple cork, or like any double cork or any variation out of it, you really actually want to slow it down by eagling and open your arms up so that you can catch the swing and go up instead of flipping straight back, right?
Yeah, so, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so it's just difference in technique for different moves. I'm sure Tiki would agree with me. Like seeing my technique versus like his for swings. He just does it in a way that allows him to do these other tricks more efficiently, and I can do a lot more corks because my technique is just a certain way.
I see that you use hop step, and a lot of other trickers use hop step too for their cork swings and gainer switches. But what makes you? Because I use J step for my cork swings. What makes you choose hop step over J step, in your opinion?
Yeah, totally. It's funny. I get this question like more than any question. Like so many people like DM me asking for advice on the cork or something, and they're like, I just don't know what to do for my step. Right. I kind of just chose to do hop step because I was taught that way. You know, the first corks that I did on the air trick at Apex Movement, I think were J step. Just because that's what I was watching at the time. But then as soon as somebody showed me hop step, I just felt way more controlled. And what I like to tell people is it's like J step is this very like raw, powerful step, right? Like I think in a lot of ways you can like run faster into it. Like if you get the right block, like J step can definitely be more powerful. But with the hop step, jumping off of the same foot that you're going to plant again gives you kind of a better way to measure like how far you're jumping and how much energy you're putting into it, at least to me. So I really think like, you know, the main thing is that I just get more control from the hop step, and that's also just how someone at the gym showed me how to do it. So I think it's really just how you learn first. Some people can do J-step triple cork like really strong, you know, and then there's people on the other end like Cork Corkson. He can do, you know, hop step triple cork really, really well. So I think they both work, and I think that they're both like so similar in as a setup that it really just comes down to preference and how you learn. It's kind of like the same way where like a lot of people don't really choose which way they twist. It's like if your favorite tricker twisted to the left, you probably started trying to twist to the left, you know? So yeah, I think I just started doing hop step just because someone showed me how to do it, and I think that it just comes down to preference more than anything.
Okay. Yeah, because when I try to do hop step, I just don't get any power out of it compared to J step.
Yeah, totally.
But I guess I need to practice it more.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen that video on my Instagram. That's like I made a video of like how to get more height out of your step. And there's like a slow-mo cork and gainer clip that I basically just like put some words over for a tutorial. But I can totally send that your way if you want to like watch my hop step technique in slow-mo.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely check that out.
Yeah, I'll definitely send it to you after the podcast for sure.
One thing I'm curious too is, so Bailey Payne says swing throughs are a lot like power tumbling, and except it's on one foot, and you just did 30 corks. So would you say your linear power tumbling is pretty yoked as well, like with your whips and your back handsprings, or is that totally different?
I mean, I will say that I have not spent a significant amount of time training like just basic power tumbling. Like in general, like my round off back handspring to like a tuck is terrible. Like you'd probably laugh at what it looks like compared to like, me doing 30 corks, and then someone would watch me like do a back handspring to backflip. Like it's a world's difference, and it really only comes down to like what you train, right? As far as like tumbling skills go, like I think I've never done more than like 3 whips maybe on the floor. But I've done 30 corks. So that just kind of shows you like I do think that they're very similar, and Bailey obviously comes from this power tumbling background and is very good at those skills and can probably do like 50 back handsprings easily. But I learned differently. I guess I just learned purely coming from that tricking background. And so I've really just learned how to manipulate the technique just purely from doing gainer switches and corks. And on trampoline, obviously, like, I don't know, I posted this a while back, but when I was like trying to increase my like number of swings and I started to get like a little bit more intentional about it, I did 30 backflips to double full on my trampoline in my backyard. And so it's like I could do it on there, right? Like as many as I probably want in a row because I know the technique so well on a trampoline, but like actually on the ground, I'm just definitely not as good at those power tumbling skills.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious, like, how correlated they would be. Um,
Yeah, totally.
One thing I like to ask too is, wait, what were you saying?
Nothing. Basically, like I totally agree with you that it's like it you know, I don't know like how much the correlation like basically gave Bailey the ability to do like as many cork swings as he did because he's done 28. So still like a ton of corks. And you know, I think like just like with J step and hop step, same exact thing. It's really, you know, it's really like whatever your background is, you're just going to use whatever skills that you already know how to do. And so the power tumbling, I feel like for him probably did really help, like doing the swings. But then for me, I think I just took a different approach.
Um, so when you're doing a lot of cork swings, you tend to drift in a circle because you have to do that because if you stay linear, you're gonna like hit the end of the floor. So
Yeah.
what is it? What is the technique behind your cork drifting when you drift your corks? Because I feel like if I try to do that and drift a bit, I'll go off axis with my cork swings and just like mess up. So what is your mindset with that tech?
Yeah, totally. So, yeah, this is another thing that I commonly get asked about. And honestly, the biggest thing is once you have figured out your cork technique and you can do like a bunch linearly, like this is going to be the difference from people like having kind of the standard, right? If you're like good at swing throughs, you can probably do 10 corks or 10 gainer switches right now. Whereas like I think that standard is quickly going to become much more you know, as people figure out the technique to be able to do it. But I think the main thing is that I literally, the only thing I'm thinking about when I have to change my direction is to change where I'm looking and to change where my foot is pointing. So I twist to the right. Obviously, if I'm doing corks off my right foot and my foot is pointed forwards, if I want to turn to like avoid something that's on my right, I'm just going to turn my foot a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, right? So it's literally like those are just the two things that I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about changing where I'm looking, my spot, and I'm thinking about changing where my foot placement is. So it's not really about changing my whole body position. It's just these two really minuscule movements that end up allowing me to start to turn slowly. And like at this point, it's kind of second nature because I've been doing that technique for so long. Yeah, I think if you want to start manipulating your swings in that way, it just really comes down to where your plant leg is pointed and where your eyes are as you take off.
What is your gainer switch record, by the way?
I've done 15,
Okay.
so it's half of my cork record.
Yeah, literally half. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I have not like intentionally spent a ton of time doing gainer switches. Like honestly, the day that I did 15, I wasn't even planning to do that many. I was planning to do 10 to double cork, and I messed up and kept going. You know, so I think I've just like been so much more intentional about doing corks because I've always been better at them. But one of my huge goals is to get back to training and beat the gainer switch record as well.
Hell yeah. You definitely got it. So
Thanks, bro. We'll see with my ankle. I'll have to rebuild it to be able to have the stamina to do these things because you know, obviously going and training swings, even if you do like 10, 15 corks in one session, like your leg is fried.
yep.
So yeah, if I can build up the strength again, I believe I'll do it too for sure.
Outside of the tricking sessions and just tricking in general, what do you like to do for fun?
Yeah, totally. I love to weight train. So like outside of tricking, I know this is still like a form of training, but I love weight training so much. Like lifting, it has seriously like changed my body and changed the way I trick forever. So when I'm not training tricks in the gym, I'm normally like weight training. Other things that I really love, I love playing kendama. So kendama has been like a thing for, as long as I've been tricking, I've been playing kendama, and I have like a bunch on my wall right here.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, so like I love kendama so much. Before kendama, I had skateboarded, and so or before kendama and tricking and everything. So when I was a kid, I grew up skateboarding. So when I have more time, sometimes I get into that, but it's been a long time since I've like skateboarded. But yeah, playing kendama, lifting weights, and nutrition is a huge thing for me. So I love cooking, and I love learning about cooking and nutrition in general. So I'm always like researching how to make our bodies more efficient with our fuel. So always looking up stuff about nutrition, reading about nutrition, and yeah, playing kendama, lifting weights. Those are the main things.
Yeah, I remember you made a story about avoiding seed oils, and that's something I really got to start doing too, because that shit's not good for you.
No, definitely not. I don't know. I saw you had like Tiki and Levi on this same group. Are you interviewing them as well?
This is my private. Well, I kind of do pretty much everything in this server. I do privates, and then I interview people.
Oh, so you had privates from them.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, cool. Well, it's funny just because they like kind of subscribe to a similar thing that I'm doing with my diet, or at least Levi for sure. I'm kind of taking the like animal based approach, which I think people kind of laugh at that when they hear like animal based instead of like plant based. But the term does come from like basically like what I eat is mostly meat, dairy, fruit, a little bit of grains. Like I eat rice and I eat like sprouted grains, but other than that, I don't eat any other grains. And then I mean that's pretty much it. And then honey is another like main source of like sugar or carbohydrate that I go for. And then pretty much I just try to avoid like seed oils, any food that's in a package. Anything that's not a whole food, I try to stay away from for sure. I mean, the thing is like it's hard to be able to even control what ingredients we get into our body, even eating whole foods, because so many of our vegetables, fruits, meat, everything is processed, right? And is sprayed with chemicals, and there's so much that's going into like our soil these days that's affecting our food. So I think the best thing that you can do as a tricking athlete or any athlete in general is cut out as many packaged foods as you can and try and eat whole food, high protein sources.
Yep, sounds like a good deal.
Yeah, definitely. As far as the seed oils go too, I know I kind of like went right around that. It's just like ridiculous to see like, I watched this video recently, and it was like 1 tablespoon of like rice bran oil was, I think it was 50 cups of rice went into that 1 tablespoon, right?
Really?
Yeah,
Damn.
like 50 cups of rice. And so if you think about it, it's like, yes, maybe like eating some of these oils doesn't sound like it would be that bad for you, but in what like part of our evolution would we have consumed 50 cups of rice worth of oil in one sitting? Like never, So I think the effects we're just starting to see on our on our health in general. But I think we'll definitely see like down the line how much of an effect like these oils have on our bodies, and hopefully at some point society like stops putting these things in our food. But yeah, they're definitely like affecting us more than we know. And on a metabolic level, like I think they're very much like a cause, not necessarily just seed oils, but processed food in general is like such a huge cause for diabetes and heart disease and all these things that we're struggling with so much as a country, specifically in the U.S., but in the world, it's an ongoing pandemic. So I try to just avoid those things as best I can, and as long as you eat well and sleep well, you're going to train well.
Just make that the intention and hopefully try to reduce as much as you can,
Yeah, definitely.
Give me a second. I want to see if I'm still recording on my other computer.
Yeah, do your thing, bro.
Okay. We're hitting the end of the questions here.
Yeah. Cool.
This is just a random question that I ask. Just a random open-ended question. So, let's say you're stuck on an island and you're given an MP3 player, and it's solar powered, but you can only have 3 songs on there to listen to while you get rescued. For like, who knows you're gonna get rescued, but you only have 3 songs there to listen to. What are those 3 songs gonna be?
Dang, that's so hard. What would those 3 songs be? Right now, I've been like very much listening to like indie, like kind of alternative, like sad boy music. So that's been like more of my thing. I guess I'll just tell you like what my favorite songs are right now that I bring with me. Let's see. Okay, one would be it's called WTF by Boy Pablo. I don't know if you know who Boy Pablo is, but he makes
I don't.
Okay, yeah, definitely like some sad indie music for sure, but it's good. And then I've been listening to this band called Good Kid, which was like my recent sampler that I dropped was one of the songs that was on it, but this song called Drifting by them. And they kind of make like, not really, it's more like alternative rock. And then honestly, I would probably listen to Suicidal Thoughts by Biggie Smalls. The Notorious B.I.G. You probably know that song. It's like a classic.
I can't think of the top of my head, but if I heard it, I probably recognize it.
For sure. Yeah. It's one of those just like old school hip hop like anthems. It's a good one. But yeah, my music taste is all over the place. I'll like listen to everything from like I said, like sad indie boy music to like really heavy rap or metal. Like, I'll listen to literally anything, even some country maybe.
No country, bro.
I figured it's so funny that like most people love all kinds of music except for country.
Yeah, I have a very I don't really listen to like a specific genre. I have a pretty varied taste, especially when it comes to the sessions too. Depends on how I'm feeling that day.
Yeah, totally.
So here are the last 2 questions. Where would you like to take your tricking, and what is the most valuable lesson tricking has taught you?
Okay. All right. Well, number 1 is, it's funny because it's not even where I want to take my tricking, but it's where I want to take everyone else's tricking. I just want the ability, and I've been so grateful to be able to inspire others to push themselves and get better at their own tricks. And that's what I'd love to continue to do. So if I can, with my tricking, I'd like to push myself as far as I possibly can as an athlete and show people the potential that they have. I'd really love to, not just with like obviously like the cork swings and like big tricks like triple corks and stuff. I want to continue like doing those tricks, but I really want to show people that they can continue to push themselves and push the sport. So yeah, keep pushing myself athletically as much as I can. And I want to give back to the community as best as I can. So really, like, I think the main thing for me is I want to continue coaching. I think teaching is so important, and keep tricking as hard as I can for as long as I can. And that includes like competing. So I really am like trying to change my tricking to be able to compete on a bigger stage. And I think so many people are doing that in such like a good way right now. Like so many tricking organizations are creating this platform for people to be able to perform and really create a name for themselves through tricking. So if I can help do that for more trickers in the future and give people a future where we're just continuing to push that level, doing harder tricks, and all continuing to grow as a sport, that's what I want to do with my tricking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What was the second question too?
What is the most valuable lesson tricking has taught you?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the first one that comes to mind is like obviously it's it's super cliche, but it's like, you know, no matter how many times you fall, the most important thing is to get back up. And, you know, I think that there's like so many sports that do this just as well as tricking. Like I started skateboarding, like I told you, when I was a kid, and like eating shit on concrete really teaches you how to get up and like keep going. You know, like there's nothing more that will do that for you than, you know, falling off your skateboard. But tricking is similar in that way where it's like, there's going to be so many times where you go to a tricking session and want to learn a new skill and it just totally doesn't work out for you. And I think like the most important thing to take away from my tricking is like, no matter how many times I fail, if I keep showing up, then I'm going to get better at it, you know? And that's carried over to so many other parts of my relationships in my life and other things that I've been able to do outside of tricking. So, you know, I think like as long as you keep showing up, you're just going to continue to get better at what you do. And yeah, tricking has really shown me that for sure.
Nice. Well, that's all the questions I have for today. I really appreciate you taking the time and being on this show. And it was just really cool to see your perspective on tricks, both technically and like in a broad sense, you know. So thank you for being on the show. This is episode number 12. Hope you have a speedy recovery, Aiden. And
Dude.
wait, are you gonna be at Vertigo?
That's the hope. Yeah. So
Okay.
I don't know if I am going to be yet, just because of my ankle. If I'm not getting surgery on my ankle, I'll be at Vertigo.
Okay. Yeah, I'll see you at either Vertigo or Hooked. So
Love it, dude. They're both going to be intense. That's awesome that you're going to be at both of them. I think you're going to see. I don't know if you've been to an event yet where they've like hosted battles, like with the stage and like having to qualify into the top 16. Have you been a part of that?
yeah, I was at the last Vertigo. So
Okay, so you've seen it already. Yeah, it's incredible. Like being at Loop Kicks and like qualifying into the top 16 triggers and even being a part of that was like an honor. I think it's so cool, like what these event organizers are like able to do, and the fact that like now there's a $5,000 tricking pot at Vertigo is just insane. So yeah, I mean, obviously, I just want to thank you for interviewing me. Thanks for taking me on and listening to what I have to say about tricks. And dude, I hope you have a great time at Vertigo and Hooked. They're going to be fantastic.
Yep. Appreciate it. Keep doing good things, man, and I'll talk to you some other time, all right?
Yeah, sounds good, brother. Yeah, dude, I'll definitely let you know if I'll actually be at Vertigo. I'd definitely love to see you and chat in person.
Okay. Well, have a good rest of your day, bro.
Dude, thank you, man. See ya.
See ya.